Gorseval the Multifarious is the second actual boss of Wing 1. There are a few different strategies you can employ here, but we're going to keep it fairly simple. Also, if you're a lore nerd like me, you'll learn that Gorseval is actually a giant clump of spirits, and I know what you're thinking, and yes, that does technically make him a Katamari. Before you start the fight, we'll need to establish a few players to manage slows, chills, and immobilizations, and you'll see why in a bit. There should also be 4 markers around the arena placed about like this. When the fight starts, the tank should run through and point the boss away from the group so the group can stack on his butt. This is a toughness tank, by the way. He does a slam attack that knocks you down right at the start, so be prepared to use some stability or evade or just get knocked on your ass. After a few moments, Gorseval will gain a defiance bar and start throwing a tantrum while the arena gets filled with alternating ring-shaped patterns of goop. Typically, the group should hold CC as long as you can survive the goop. The goop rings appear, then detonate after a moment, so you can generally move inward and outward from the boss to avoid most of it, but with strong healers you can also heal through it. At around 85%, it's usually safe to break the boss, at which point he will be momentarily dazed, and now is the time to burn as hard and fast as you can. After he recovers from his daze, Gorsey will begin channeling his World Eater attack. A large AoE will begin spreading towards the edge of the arena, and if you don't get his health down to 66% in time, the party instantly wipes. But if you do get him to 66%, you will phase him and skip this attack. We call this a DPS check. By maintaining his Defiance bar as long as possible, we're given a fairly low pressure opportunity to DPS him down before he initiates the World Eater attack. This is the no break or slow break strategy, and I personally believe it to be the most reliable. If your group has very good DPS, you can also try the fast break method, which is exactly what it sounds like. The intended mechanic is for the party to run to one of the outside walls, destroy it, jump off the platform, and use the updrafts indicated on the map to glide around the arena until it's safe to return. I have done this exactly once, and thanks to power creep, it really just isn't necessary to worry about doing it these days. At 66%, we have a split phase. Gorseval will just vibe in the center of the arena, and 4 ghosties will appear, approximately at those markers you placed earlier. They will slowly begin moving towards the boss, and if one of them reaches him, he will begin another World Eater attack, which will pretty much wipe the group. I mentioned earlier you would need slows and immobes, and this is why. There are 2 typical strategies I use here depending on your group composition. If you have lots of players with some moderate immobilization skills, then the group can split and have one subgroup go left and one go right. They will then kill their respective ghosts and move on to the second, tossing out any bolas or net shots as needed to keep things manageable. If you have a player with some really OP immobilization skills, like a ranger with entangle and long condition duration, you can have that one player manage 3 ghosts while the rest of the group heads to arrow, then works their way around the arena clockwise. Usually the tank will try to run into position right before the final ghost dies, so that when Gorsey fixates on the tank, he'll already be facing away from the group. For the most part, this phase is the same as the last, with the tantrum, goop, CC management, etc. You will notice that there are now large orbs starting to appear on the screen, and their AoE slowly grows in size. Ranged DPS players should cleave and destroy these whenever possible before they become a problem. A player who enters these AoEs will get a debuff that reduces their damage output by 10%, and it can stack up to 10 times, meaning yes, you can turn your devastating attacks into wet noodles. Not great on a boss with an actual DPS check. If you happen to become afflicted with this, grab 2 of the small glowing gold orbs you see around the arena. Those will remove 5 stacks of the debuff each. After another Tantrum and World Eater attack, this time you can break him at around 45%. Then DPS him down to 33% where he will split again. It's a good idea to take a look around and get your bearings before this, because it's easy to get spun around after the lap you made around the arena earlier. This split is exactly the same as the last, the only difference being the Spectral Darkness orbs, which may or may not be in your way, depending on how well your group has managed them. When you return to the boss, a final mechanic is added, which is eggs. Small circles will appear under your feet, and you need to step or dodge out of them when they detonate, or you'll become encased in a ghost egg? Your friends can hit you to break you out, and you can also spam your number 1 skill to break free. Eggs aren't devastating here, but they are a DPS loss, so it's important to deal with them. Other than that, just hit the boss until it dies, and enjoy your loot. In the next episode of Raids Explained, we'll face the final boss of Wing 1, Sabatha the Saboteur. See you then!